Do you feel it? The constant need for something more, the perpetual desire that pushes us is the overwhelming sense of lack that nothing we buy can ever seem to fill. Free to go down the road of unhealthy attachment. Take a moment to think. Listen to the quieter voices inside you. Don't they whisper a deep truth? Lasting peace can't be found in the outside world of people, things, and situations. Our deepest discontent comes not from what we lack, but from our attachment to things that were never ours to keep. This sobering realization is at the heart of Stoic philosophy. The ancient sages didn't just accept that life is short, they welcomed it wholeheartedly as the way to freedom. They knew that the only way to truly be free was to break free from the illusionary chains that hold us to the temporary realm. Can you feel how deep this teaching goes? Can you feel the weight of those invisible chains that hold your wants, fears, and misplaced hopes in something that will eventually fade? The Stoics call you to do just that. I can hear the doubts percolating. How can one remain unmoved amidst the churning tides of life? How can the heart remain steadfast when confronted with loss, rejection, or upheaval? But this is the great unveiling that the philosophy of detachment offers, for in accepting the inherent impermanence of all external conditions, we paradoxically open ourselves to the one thing that can never be lost, our firm-rooted value, our intrinsic wholeness. So let me extend an invitation, a clarion call to all weary wanderers, seeking to unbind themselves from the ceaseless cycle of grasping and disappointment. Join me in plumbing the ancient wisdom of Stoicism and discovering the path to mastering the great art of detachment. For it is only by releasing our grip that we can truly begin to live. Let's accompany us until the end of the journey, and don't miss any milestones in today's journey. Each milestone and each lesson contains valuable messages to help you live a more fulfilling life. Now let's start the Stoic method today, with one simple but important step. Talk to someone you can trust. In the tapestry of human experience, our connections and interactions often weave complex patterns of emotion and attachment. While these connections are a natural part of being human, they can sometimes cause chaos and distress, especially when they get in the way of our path to peace and virtue. Stoicism teaches us the value of detachment, not as a way to isolate ourselves, but as a way to gain clarity and keep our balance. So why is the first step in this process so important? It's important to talk to someone you trust. When we're with a trusted friend or mentor, we feel safe enough to share our thoughts and feelings. This act of sharing helps us see our attachments from a different angle, often revealing the threads of irrational fears, misplaced bonds, or overstated duties that may bind us too much. The younger Seneca is a moving example from Stoic philosophy that shows how important it is to trust a trustworthy person while keeping your distance from other people and situations. Because of Nero's unpredictable and often cruel rule, Seneca, who was a counselor to the Roman emperor, found himself in a dangerous situation. However, he stuck to his Stoic principles, one of which was the importance of having a trustworthy friend during this time of political unrest. His letters to his friend Lucy show this. Seneca shared his thoughts. There are doubts and new ideas in these letters that show how honest talk can help with mental and emotional health. Seneca's story shows how important it is to have a trustworthy friend in order to understand and improve oneself. When we have a confidant by our side, we know we're not alone in our troubles. But how do we have these kinds of conversations? We should be honest, open, and willing to listen, not just talk. The conversation should be based on the values of wisdom and courage, justice and moderation. By doing this, we not only lighten our load, but we also help our confidant stay healthy and gain new insights. Remember that the journey is as much about getting to know ourselves as it is about figuring out how to get along with others. By talking to someone we trust, we take a big step toward finding inner freedom and peace, and we align our lives with the Stoic virtues that lead to a good and meaningful life. Follow this habit, because the art of detachment is the way to real strength. Change what you expect. Truth be told, number 2. Peace and quiet. Realistically reset your expectations. As we go through life, we often get caught up in a web of expectations, both from ourselves and from other people. If you don't check these expectations, they can lead to failure, frustration, and pointless pain. Stoicism teaches us how to deal with this problem, head-on calling for a reevaluation of what we expect from the world around us based on reality. Greek Stoic philosopher Epictetus is the subject of one of the most interesting true Stoic stories that sums up the ideas of learning detachment and setting new goals. Big Toe was born into slavery, and his early years were full of hardships and restrictions that could have made him angry and bitter, but he believed that a person's inner peace and happiness could not be controlled by their surroundings. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters, he famously said. This idea, which is at the heart of Stoic philosophy, has a direct connection to the practice of realistically lowering expectations. It's important to remember that no matter what is going on around us, we can choose how to react by adjusting our ideals to match reality. Being aware of what we can control and letting go of what we can't, you should learn the art of detachment not as a way to avoid things, but as a way to stay calm and effective when life throws you problems. So how do we change what we expect? First, you have to look within. Think about your assumptions and ideas about how things should work. Do they come from wishful or utopian thought, or are they based in reality? Think about how hard relationships are. Life is short, and the world can't be predicted. Realize that you can change the results, but you can't completely control them. This doesn't mean we should be pessimistic or think the worst will happen. Instead, it means finding the right balance so that our expectations are based on a realistic assessment of what is likely to happen, rather than being too high or too low. By not giving in to fate, we are giving ourselves the tools to face whatever comes our way with courage, knowledge, and poise. Let's grow together. How will this truly reset your expectations? Make changes to your life. Take a break from social media and share your stories below to help others. Third, take a break from social media. Wise truth seekers. Let's look inward and face the sneaky way that social media can take away our peace of mind. These never-ending streams of perfectly managed lives can make us unhappy, envious, and annoyed that our lives don't measure up. Let me tell you a story that shows how important it is to take a break from the constant talk on social media every once in a while. There once lived a sage who dwelt in a humble abode. Surrounded by the tranquil whispers of nature, his days were spent in quiet contemplation, tending to his garden and nurturing his soul with the fertile soil of philosophy. Yet one day, personal empowerment and detachment from tough situations. How can we think about our choices carefully? Let's first take a step back and look at the situation without bias. Check to see what kind of connection you have. Is it based on habit or fear? Next, think about the following choices. What impact does holding on to this attachment have on what DETACH offers? Is there a middle ground? The goal of this method is to find the path that is most in line with our core beliefs, not the easiest one. To do this, we must be honest with ourselves, maybe ask a trusted friend for help, and keep coming back to the Stoic qualities of courage, justice, temperance, and wisdom. Don't forget that detachment isn't about avoiding or not caring about things. It's about making choices that make sense, bring us peace, and help us make a bigger difference in the world. By carefully considering our options, we give ourselves the power to make choices that are good for us and show our dedication to living a moral and meaningful life. Let's approach the art of detachment with the same focus and care we use when we deal with other things. Pay careful attention to your basic needs. 5 times of success. Pay careful attention to your basic needs. Real freedom doesn't come from owning the world. It comes from owning oneself. When we hold on to people and things, we give up our peace of mind to forces we can't control. The wise Stoic knows that real happiness comes from within, and that the key to being happy is to focus on what we can control, which are our basic needs. What are these basic requirements? You could say that they are the necessities that keep us alive. Besides food, water, shelter, and the development of virtue, everything else is just a mirage, a short-lived pleasure or pain that will pass by moving our attention. By taking care of these basic needs, we can free ourselves from the chains of external attachment. As an example, think of the wise emperor of Rome who learned this art of detachment. Marcus was constantly dealing with political intrigue, war, and personal tragedy. But he stayed strong by following his Stoic beliefs. He accepted what he couldn't change and focused on meeting his basic needs. He lived a luxurious life, but he didn't care about the trappings of power. His famous meditations show a man at peace, unaffected by the turmoil of the world, because he had learned how to separate himself from it all and find freedom and happiness in the citadel of his mind. In this way, the Stoic sage goes beyond the temporary and embraces the eternal. Finding comfort in the present moment and freedom in the by doing this, we will find the way to true freedom, which is peace and a life that flows with the natural rhythms of existence. Step 6. Take a break from that person for a while. On our way to mastering detachment, we must face one of the biggest challenges, our attachment to others. It is in our relationships and bonds with others that we are most likely to get caught up in the traps of emotion and desire. Let us look at how the sage dealt with this problem when someone or something was about to upset our inner balance. The smart Stoic knows that sometimes they need to take a step back, even if it's just for a moment. This isn't an act of avoidance or weakness, but rather a choice to keep things fair, get a fresh look at things, and take back control of their thoughts and feelings. When we take a step back, we give ourselves permission to feel what they're feeling, giving ourselves the space we need to think about our attachments and decide if they really meet our needs or just satisfy our wants. During this time of silence, we can look at the problem without any bias or emotion. By cutting ourselves off from an outside force, even if only for a short time, we break free from attachment bonds and take back control of our thoughts and feelings. Let us look at the life of Seneca the Younger, a famous Stoic philosopher who worked as an advisor to Emperor Nero. When Nero's cruelty and paranoia got out of hand and threatened Seneca's beliefs and possibly his own life, the wise man made the hard decision to step away. Seneca asked to retire from public service to get away from the emperor's harmful influence. This distance helped him keep his honor and inner peace, without Nero's bad habits bothering him, even though he couldn't change Nero. Emperor Seneca limited his participation by stepping away from a situation that was corrupting for a short time. Seneca represented the Stoic ideal of detachment. He put his reason and virtue ahead of his closeness to power, because he knew that real freedom sometimes means having the courage to break free, even if only for a short time, from unhealthy bonds. Seneca's life exemplified using judicious distance as a path to peaceful detachment, so let us embrace this Stoic practice, stepping away when necessary, not out of avoidance but out of a deep commitment to cultivating our inner equilibrium and preserving our fundamental needs for. In doing so, we shall find the strength to navigate the choppy waters of human interaction with grace, wisdom, and an unwavering sense of detachment. What do you think about this method? Your insights could be a guiding light for someone. Please share in the Establish Limits for your feelings. Comments number 7. Establish limits for your feelings in the Stoic quest for inner peace. We acknowledge that while we may not control external events, we hold sway over our internal landscape. Our feelings, though natural and often useful, can sometimes lead us astray if left unchecked to live a life by nature and reason. We must learn to set boundaries for our emotions. Why set limits on our feelings? Because without boundaries, our emotions can become masters over us, dictating our actions and clouding our judgment. Just as a city, without walls, is vulnerable to every external threat, so too is the mind that allows feelings to roam unchecked. By establishing limits, we create a sanctuary for reason, a space where our emotions can be observed, understood, and guided by wisdom. Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius is a great example of how to keep your cool when things go wrong. He had to deal with betrayals, war, and personal grief, but he used Stoic ideas to stay calm. One example is how he kept his cool when Idas Cassis's trail happened, instead of getting angry or trying to get revenge. Marcus kept his cool, putting the safety of the empire and a peaceful end to the crisis first. In his meditations, He talks about setting emotional limits and the big difference between recognizing your feelings and letting them take over. Behavior. Marcus shows how to be stoic by responding to situations with intelligence and reason, by staying calm in tough situations and making decisions based on stoic principles instead of short-lived emotions. So how do we set these limits? Being self-aware is the first step. Notice your feelings as they come up. Is this feeling appropriate, given the circumstances? Is it promoting my virtue and well-being? We can respond to situations with thoughtful, reasoned action, rather than with spontaneous emotion. When we challenge our feelings and use the logical mind, recall that establishing boundaries does not include rejecting or repressing your emotions. It entails identifying them, comprehending where they came from, and actively choosing how much of an impact they should have on your choices and behavior. This is the essence of Stoic detachment, mindful control of our emotional reactions. Not a heartless indifference by developing the ability to set boundaries for our emotions. We may create a calm and rational environment inside of ourselves. We learn to engage with people and circumstances as masters of our inner state, able to navigate the intricacies of life with poise and grace rather than as slaves to our emotions. In doing so, you will find not only greater peace but also a newfound strength. Mastering not only the world around you but also the world inside you gives you strength. We just finished a great conclusion and meaningful journey together today with the lesson on mastering how to detach from people and situations. Let these teachings on detachment be the steadying force that holds you up in life's rough seas when the winds of change bring up evil and threaten to flip your balance. May the Stoics' wise words be your anchor, telling you to let go of things you can't change. True mastery is not in holding on to the temporary, but in letting go of the temporary so that we can chart our course with the eternal, unbreakable stars within us. In this way, we become unsinkable and float on the waters of our unshakable virtue and self-providence. This is the high but incredibly attainable path that Stoicism has carved for us throughout the ages. Will you have the courage to walk it if today's meaningful journey with the Stoic inspires you? Leave a message with your thoughts, and don't forget to tell everyone you know about these deep ideas. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos we post. See you in the next video.